Hi everyone. Yes, I'm back. Same shirt. Yeah, trying to shoot a bunch at the same time, as always. My last video, I did a This Just In video, and I did skip one thing, but I decided to skip it because I'm going to put it in this video. Okay, and this video is going to be Beatles and comic books. That being said, there are a lot of like comic books from the 60s where they made appearances and stuff in it, and it's one of the things I personally am trying to find. There's a Batman one, I think it's Batman 222, that's eluded me for years because of the price. I have a couple of them, but I also have other ones that have came out through the years. I'm sure, well, I'm not so sure if you've seen all of these or not, but I figured I'd do a video on them since I had them out. But the first one is called The Beatles Experience. And if you look, it's part 1 of 8. I don't know if I should, if you want to actually see them or not, but I'll open this one. This series came out one at a time in 1991. It's all black and white, just show you a little bit of it. And it goes through the history of the group. So, like, this one goes from basically 1950 or 1940 to like Hamburg, if I'm not mistaken. But these guys made actually further into Hamburg, 1963. Sorry about that. These guys made, it was an 8-part series. And they were unauthorized. They never got permission to do these. This was back when all of the lawsuits were being settled or just settled, and they didn't want to, I'm assuming didn't want to pay to have the permission to do them. Which brings up another thing. Actually, you know what? I'm going to wait on that. I'll do a video on that later. But this one here out of the 8 was the hardest one to get. Which, if you collect Beatles, I can't speak for Elvis or anybody else, but everything that comes out in a series, Hot Wheels, comic books, doesn't make a difference, plates. There's always one that's always a pain in the butt to get. And I honestly think they do that on purpose. But I'm going to do a whole different video on that. But this one here was the hardest one. This is part 2. And there's the back of it. This one goes from 63 to 67, I want to say. And I'm only basing that on part 3, because part 3 is the Sgt. Pepper one. So this covers like 67, maybe 66, 67 in that area, because I see revolvers on the back. But these came out like every 3 months. March, May, July, every 2 months. So you had to wait 2 months to get the next part. Part 4 is embossed, and of course it's the White Album one. And there's the back of it. I know it's hard to see. This one came out in September, of 91. Part 5 takes us through 1970. And you're probably thinking, well, there's 8 of them, but you'll see. There's the back of that one. Part 6 concentrated on Mr. McCartney and Wings. Plus, there's an advertisement for other ones they did. Paula Abdul, Stan Lee, you know, various things like that. Part 7 gets into the Paul McCartney dead or alive debate. And by this time, we were in May of 1992. So it's taken a year. And then the final part of this fabulous Beatles experience. I just did that out of sequence. No editing here. There's part 7. The solo Beatles. And then part 8 was the Paul is dead one. Oh well, it happens. The next series came out. Shows you how crazy I was in my younger days. It was a set of 4, which turned into a set of 8. They were made by Personality Comics. And here's the John one. And the reason it came out as a set of 8 is because I originally bought this one. What you're thinking to yourself, it's the same damn thing. Why do you have 2 of them? I'll show you. Back in the days when I used to buy everything, the difference between this one and that one is if you look, it's, limited edition. Ooh. Yeah. It was limited edition because it had this in it. Everything else is the same. Just this card. And it was numbered number 277 of 2000. That was the only difference. But different animation. It goes through John Lennon's career with the Beatles. Solo. All the way, unfortunately, to his untimely murder. But that's the only difference between the 2 of them. These came out, 1991. 91, 92, the year of Beatle comic books. None of these were authorized by Apple or Capitol or anybody else. They were just done to be done. Then next one we have is Paul McCartney. And of course, I did the same thing because I already bought the Lennon one. This is the limited edition one. Right here. Same thing. It has a card on the inside. You know, plus on top of that, they charged you $3 more for it. The only difference is the Lennon card was 1, and there's the McCartney cards that's in it. You know, number 2508 of 3,000. So they upped the printing and up the price $3 from the standard edition. You know, I mean, anything to get the money out of your pocket, huh? Here's the George one. And every one of these, believe it or not, has Star Trek on the back. Then you have, of course, the limited edition George one, which they continued with the George through the years cards. Number 1545. But back then, I didn't, you know what? It didn't matter to me if it said Beatles on it and I liked it, I bought it. And then the last one in the series was this fabulous Ringo Starr one, which I personally do not like that drawing. And then, of course, had to buy the limited edition one. You know, and just when you think, hey, I got all 4 of them, we're done. I personally think all these comic book companies were the same. There's the Ringo set of cards that are in there. And they're not perforated or anything. It's just 4 cards stapled in the center of the book. No really big shakes. Unless you collect comic books and you're into that stuff. And then not too long after that came from Celebrity Books, which I'm pretty sure is Personality Comics, The Beatles versus the Rolling Stones. And if that wasn't bad enough, of course, yes, there's a limited edition one too, with Stones and Beatles cards in it. Yeah, I know. Crazy, isn't it? I don't get it. But, hey, what are you going to do? Instead of putting... See what they did there? Like I said, same company, different name. They ran out of ideas. You know? And this time they put both captains from Star Trek on the back. Then, along comes Celebrity Comics again. The unauthorized biography of the Beatles in Pictures. And I'm not going to take this one out. I don't want this video to be too long. This is part 1. I think these came out in 92 or so. Then, of course, because it is part 1, here comes the Beatles in Pictures, part 2. And what they did is either I'm missing something or they didn't do it, but they ended this comic book, okay, at Magical Mystery Tour in 1967. Okay? They never printed volume 3. Never seen it, never been out. I've looked for it. There is no volume 3. They left it hanging. Thanks, guys. Probably got put out of business or sued or something. But Mickey Mantle's on the back of that for all you old people. That takes care of all of the newer ones I have. So now, as soon as I put this back, I want to get into some of the older vintage ones I have, which we'll start with this one. This one's from the Yellow Submarine. It's a gold key comic from the late 60s. You can find this one. It's a little pricey, but this one, unlike a lot of them, has the fold-out poster in it, right here in the middle. And I might have showed this in a magazine video. But here's the fold-out poster that came with this. It even still has the tear-off on it. There's the one side. There's the other side. Most of these comic books, the poster's missing. And it's an actual comic book. Goes through the whole premise of the movie. Wish it did cost 35 cents, but unfortunately, not anymore. This one, it can be a very pricey one. But like I said, if you're looking for one, make sure the poster is in it. Unless you don't care if the poster's in it. You know, it's all relative. Next one's another Yellow Submarine one. This is the inside story of the Yellow Submarine. I showed this one in one of my magazine videos. But this too it's while technically not a comic book, okay, it's black and white and it goes through the movie. It's technically not a comic book, but I included it because it is a cartoon movie. You know, and I've always liked this one. Like I said, I know I showed it in somewhere amongst my magazine videos. This video is getting way too long, guys, and I apologize. Alright, this is another one I showed in a magazine video. This is made by Marvel Comics. Came out in the 70s. The Beatles story. This one's fairly inexpensive. This one, these are the ones I'm trying to find now. But this one is the Fantastic Four. And if you look, The Human Torch and the Thing meet the Beatles. Yeah, this is from the 60s, as you can tell, 12 cents. But these are the ones I'm trying to find now. And then the last one for this video, I was going to include in my last finds video, but I just got this one. And it is Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, and the red-headed Beetle of 1000 BC. And look at all the girls on the bottom. But there's quite a few of these out, comic books out there. Like I said, just buy my time. If I could pick them up here and there, fantastic. Sorry the video is so long. I appreciate you all watching. Until next time, take care, everyone.